In this screencast, I'm going to show you how to create a master class so that if you teach the same class 3 periods a day, you don't have to enter in assignments for 3 classes. You can enter in once and it'll push to all the other classes. So the way I'm going to do this, of course, is click on Add Class. And the standard type is the individual standalone class. You can later on convert a standard class into a master class, but we're going to start from scratch and create this as a master class. So I click there. It provides a little bit of an explanation. What they anticipate is that there's like a master teacher and then there are teaching assistants who will be responsible for grading written work. That's not my situation, and that's okay. I'm going to actually create myself as the TA. So I'm going to call this class Genres of Composition, and this will be for my first, second, and third period classes. The TA join key, this would be for the TA that you've selected. We're not using TAs, so I'm just going to create a random TA join key, just a bunch of letters. Choose the subject area. There we go, literature. And then choose the ages. I don't spend a lot of time on this, I'll just add one age there. And then, of course, the end date, you, of course, want to adjust. We end in May. I'm going to select, I'm going to select May 31st. It's a little bit after the end of the year. Perhaps it'll give students a chance to do some light work if I'm willing to accept it. Then we click Submit. There we go. So this enrollment key here is for the teaching assistant that I'm not using. So you can ignore that. And the class ID is the master class ID. You do not want to share this with students. Do not give the master class ID to students. I'll show you what you're going to do. So we'll click on Continue. So the master class is going to have sections under it. So I'm going to create a section by clicking on it. And I'm just going to call my TA, my fictional TA, Jimmy Lick. There we go. And then I'm going to just use my own address, because I'm not using a TA. There's not going to be a TA that's going to come in and grade the assignments. There is a peer review function that you can use if you want students to review each other's work. But I'm just going to pretend that I have a TA so that I can get through the step. Click on it. Okay, everything's good. I'm going to call this one Period 1. Okay, so that's my Period 1 Genres class. And they would like you to create, they recommend you create very simple enrollment keys, all lowercase, no spaces. So I'm using Charlie Comet, and I'll go Submit. Give it a moment there. Now this is something you would share with students. This is the enrollment key and class ID for Period 1 section. That's the number, and that's the enrollment key. I'll hit Continue here. You can see the ID number right here. This is the one you would share with students because it's associated with Period 1. Your TA is Mark Adams. And then this is the master ID. It's not associated with the period. You don't want to share this with students, okay? Of course, I want to add 2 other periods, so I would go through the steps. Again, click on Section. Good old Jimmy Lick. He's serving as my fictional TA. And Jimmy's Lick address, I'm just going to use my own. Submit, and then I'm going to call this one Period 2, and same thing, I can use the same enrollment key, Charlie Comet. And the reason I can do that, here we'll give it a moment, the reason I can do that is that what determines which class they end up in is this class ID here, and then they'll also offer Charlie Comet. That will put, if they use this ID, they'll end up in Period 1. If they use this ID, they'll end up in Period 2 here, and Period 1 here. Again, do not share the master class ID number because that would give them access to features that you really don't want people joining in as a TA. And again, I can just keep repeating this process. If I want to create a new class, I can create, let's say my guitar lit class. I can create it as a standalone, so a standard class, because I only have one section of guitar lit. And then I would just go through the features there. So you can use the master class feature to have one class where you create assignments, and then it'll simply push them there. And what I mean by that is this. Now, okay, so I have this master class. Click on Genres of Composition. Let's create a new assignment. This new assignment will be called kindling a flame. This is a metaphor that we've been using in the class. Point value is optional. I'm going to put it there just in case I want to communicate to a student what percentage they earn. I'm going to keep this allow only file types that Turnitin can check in, and then I'm going to have a start date, an end date, and the post date has to be after these two because you can't post grades until it's been accepted. Optional settings. Going to go down here. I'm going to go with most of the defaults, so that works out pretty well, going through all the defaults. And in fact, I think I'm just going to go with all the defaults and go submit.